Hey gang, my name is Max, and I'm here today to hopefully solve once and for all your problem of check water supply. Evidently a pretty common problem in Keurig brewers. I've heard it happens in both the commercial versions with the direct plumb kit, as well as the residential brewers that have the removable water supply. So this was a very long lab experiment. Not going to bore you with the details, but let's just take a look at my brewer. I decided years ago I wanted to get the commercial brewer that's directly plumbed into the water supply. Now when you order it, the brewer, it comes with the removable cold water reservoir, and then you have to separately order the direct plumb kit. Now, two things you're going to learn here today. One is how to fix, hopefully, this check water supply issue, but also how to descale a unit, a brewer that has a direct plumb kit, which is typically used in commercial applications like restaurants. So anyway, if you look at this, I'm going to show you the brewer here. This is my Keurig brewer, has a real nice, sexy display on it. I'm going to hit 10 ounce and I'm going to let one brew, no K-cup, just let it brew. Looking at the top, if you see this line at the very top, on the right, for purposes of our chat, this is what we're going to call the cold water reservoir. And to the left of this line, this is the main brewing unit. This is where the heater is and all the hot stuff. Behind here, and I'm going to show you this while we're on camera, you'll see two screws in the very top on the back of this lid. And these two screws are how you remove the top on a direct plumb kit. Not sure if you can see these or not, but trust me, I'm not taking mine apart again, but trust me, on the very top of the back, let me set the mirror down, on the very top here, right on the back, there's two screws. If you remove them, this cap comes right off, and this is on the direct plumb kit version. Alrighty, so you might say, what is the problem here? Let me show you real quick. You see the water level indicator? Something for the direct plumb kit folks to know. That's disabled when you have the direct plumb kit. It's assumed that since you're hooked up to a water supply directly, that will never be low, so they basically just left it to say that's always full of water. That's important later when we get into descaling. So anyway, that's what it looks like on mine. So you might say, great, what's the problem? The problem is scale. Now, I'm going to take a walk over to the computer. The problem is scale in any water supply, whether it's well water or public water like I have it at my home. You're going to have mineral content in the water. What's mineral? It's calcium, it's lime, any other minerals that might appear in the water. Now here's the big misconception. When you order your brewer and you get your descaling instructions, the assumption is that any scale that develops in the unit is on the hot water side from a minute ago, to the left of that line on top of the brewer, that the scale will develop in the hot side. Why is that? Well, minerals in water are typically held in suspension, technical term, in cold water. So the folks at Keurig and most people believe that on the cold water reservoir, you're not going to have any problem with scale. That's absolutely untrue. I'm going to show you why. If you look at this picture, I took a photo here. On the left, this is what a direct plumb kit reservoir looks like. This was mine before it was treated. If you look on the right, you're going to see the reservoir, the cold water reservoir that came with my brewer. This is the one you can remove and fill it to the top and all that good stuff. I'm going to take a quick cruise to the right here. All right, so where's the culprit? This is the clean one. This is as it should appear. This is the one that came with the unit that can be filled. And if you see, there's a silver disc right here. Now that silver disc is important because that's what that silver disc ultimately determines your water supply level in the reservoir. In the one you pour water directly into, it tells you if you need to add water. That's where the water level indicator on your brewer will say you're low and you need water. In the case of the direct plumb kit, that disc actually turns on and off the water supply to allow water to enter the cold water reservoir. Now, if you look at this picture, that disc is nice and shiny and very reflective and looks perfect, and that's good. I'm going to go to the next shot. Now, this was my direct plum kit reservoir. You notice that that is a big, looks like a big white lozenge. And what that white buildup is calcium. Again, most people didn't think it'd be a problem in the cold water reservoir because they believed the minerals would be held in suspension. I'm no chemist, but I believe that the radiant heat generated from the main brewer, which this is directly adjacent, this side is directly adjacent to the main brewer, I believe the radiant heat warmed up the water inside the cold water reservoir just enough to bring the minerals out of suspension, in particular calcium. So that's where your problem is. If that disc is not moving up and down properly and also very reflective, your brewer is not going to function properly. And in most cases, it's an intermittent problem. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. In my case, I'd brew 2 or 3 cups of coffee, and then I'd get a check water supply light, at which time I'd cycle the power on and off, make 2 or 3 more cups, and I'd get it again. So why is that a problem? Well, in the main brewer on the side that mates directly adjacent to this, there's an infrared light that shines and needs to see its reflection in that disc. Obviously, if it's covered in calcium, it's not going to always see that reflection, and it messes up the on-off process of your water supply. Let me go to another picture. We'll get to this in a minute, but this is basically what it will look like. I took a picture during the descaling of my reservoir. This is the direct plum kit, and you can see that calcium is starting to be eaten away, and you can see on the outside here, you see some residual calcium, but in the center, it's starting to get shiny. Okay, let's talk about descaling. We're going to come back over to the brewer. Now, when you get your brewer, it comes with some descaling instructions, and basically, at least in my manual, and this is the B150 model. It's no longer in production. They have newer brewers available, but I'm told that they all use that silver disc approach to the water supply level. So this should work fine for all newer brewers. What they recommend in my manual was to use vinegar. I can tell you vinegar does not solve this problem. I used vinegar. Vinegar did not touch all the calcium buildup I had on that shiny disc. So what I used, and what I highly recommend, is the Keurig Hot Descaling Solution. That's what it looks like. It's a you can get it online. You can get it at Target, probably Walmart, a few other stores. Fairly common product for anybody that sells Keurig brewers. This bottle is 14 ounces. My recommendation is to get 2 of these for a total of 28 ounces and really give your brewer a good descaling. Before I go on, I want to give kudos to my buddy Dave. Dave McDonald is a technician with Keurig up in the factory in Massachusetts, and he and I spent about 2 weeks on the phone, on and off, trying to solve this problem. And I will tell you, most factory folks are not all that helpful when it comes to solving problems. Dave was outstanding, gave me tremendous insight into how the brewer functions, and ultimately helped me solve this problem. So kudos to Dave McDonald up at Keurig for helping me fix this problem once and for all. Alrighty, so what are you going to do? On the removable reservoir, easy deal. You take the reservoir off. You can actually leave it on the brewer. Leave it on the brewer. Dump 2 bottles of this Keurig Hot solution in the cold water reservoir and leave it in there. Now, because they believe most of the problem with scale is on the brewer side, the heater side, they tell you to put it in there and then you run like 3 brew cycles and and then after you run the cycles, leave it alone and then flush it out. That doesn't leave the descaling solution in the cold water reservoir long enough to make a dent in that calcium buildup on that silver disc. So my advice is load the reservoir up with 2 bottles of this Keurig Hot descaling solution and let it sit for at least 6 hours. Maybe the easiest way is to leave it overnight. and then get busy on it again in the morning. So leave it in there. That'll break that all down. And then run your brew cycles until you totally flush the solution out of the reservoir. You'll notice that if it's not completely out and you're making coffee, this is actually citric acid, which will have like a bitter orange, like even a real bitter orange. So if you're drinking, your beverage of choice and you find that you got a bitter orange flavor to it, you probably haven't flushed all of the citric acid out. Okay, let's talk about units with a direct plumb kit, because unfortunately when you buy the direct plumb kit, it comes with a real nice set of installation instructions how to hook it up, but there's no mention there of how to descale the unit. So tip to my friends at Keurig, you might want to include a descaling procedure for direct plumb kit brewers. Anyway, I showed you the 2 screws earlier. There's 2 screws in the top. If you remove the 2 screws from the back here, right at the top, and again, that's on my B150, but I'm guessing most other units have similar screws to remove this top cap. This top cap will come right off after you remove those 2 screws. No need to remove the reservoir from the unit. You don't need to deinstall it. Just take this off. When you do, inside here, you're going to see a plastic trap door. Again, I'm not going to take my brewer apart. Done it too many times. But trust me, below this, there is a trap door you can open. Open the trap door, dump 2 bottles of the Keurig hot solution into the reservoir. Again, let it sit at least 6 hours, if not overnight. Then the next day, you'll go ahead and flush it out of the system. Something I failed to mention, sorry, not chronological, but this will work. You need to turn the water supply off before you begin that procedure. Turn off your water supply and bleed the water out of the Keurig brewer. Just take a cup, don't need any K-cup, and just keep running water until the unit won't make any more coffee or tea. It'll tell you I'm out of water. Don't trust that water level indicator that we talked about earlier. Again, on the direct plumb kits, they disabled it. It will say that you're full, but you're not. You'll keep brewing cups until the unit is completely out of water. That's when you add your Keurig hot solution. Add 2 bottles here. Let it sit at least 6 hours overnight. The next day, go ahead and flush it out. After you've flushed it out and it won't brew anymore, then you turn on your water supply once again to the brewer. Again, you might have to run some more cycles, make some more cups to get the citric acid completely out of the reservoir. And what you've essentially done is descaled the cold water reservoir and the main unit where the heater is. Now that worked for me. I had no problems after that. By the way, total disclaimer, I do not work for Keurig, never have. And again, no warranties expressed or implied. This worked for me. My brewer's working great now. Love my brewer. I hope this fixes your problem. And I'd welcome any comments to let me know if this fixed it. When I had the problem, I did a lot of searching and I didn't find any of this information. So I hope once and for all your Keurig's back in action. Take care and enjoy yourself. Bye now.